In my eyes, you seeing victory. We ain't taking L's, death to our enemies. You see the drip on me, you cannot get with me, you cannot stop me. Sit back and watch me straight to the top. When we drop, you better join us. But
You're watching All Access.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the S4Z Sports All Access pregame show, sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. Week 10 of the high school football season is upon us. And for the icon, Sean Williams, producing the show this week, I'm merely Tom Strasser, and once again, honored to be joined by my partner in crime. He is the voice of high school football, the one and only D-Train, Darren McCullough. And Train, week 10 of the season, for our area teams. Two of our teams will probably be ending their season after Friday night. One team may have to wait until the points are tabulated.
Yeah, it seems like just yesterday we were filming in here, and just absolutely just amazing that it's already week 10. Obviously, Buckeye Trail, a win, and they got a great shot at getting into the playoffs. And then Meadowbrook's hanging on by the slimmest of threads, while Cambridge, unfortunately, the injury bug or injury infestation, as I like to call it, caught them and just put them in a rough spot this year.
Yeah, but it's been a blast covering our three Guernsey County football teams. And Train, we got a even special treat tonight with the Noble County Super Bowl Friday night. We are expected to be joined by the head coach of the Caldwell Redskins, Chance Rucker, as well as the coach of the Shenandoah Zeps, Josh Lowry. You've got bragging rights. It is the Noble County Super Bowl at stake. And not only that, big-time playoff implications as well there.
Oh, huge playoff implications. And we will have them on there, as I can steal one of your lines of good Lord willing. They're able to make it up here. Obviously, with it being rivalry week down there, they got a lot of activities going on at both schools. So we're expecting to have them and hopefully just broaden our horizon here on the 740 pregame sports show.
That's right. So we're hoping that to get Coach Rucker and Coach Lowry by the end of our show tonight. Don't worry, we do have a plan B. D-Train will give his top 10 fantasy picks for this week for all you fantasy football fans if we have to go to that. But we're hoping to have Coach Rucker and Coach Lowry join us and get their thoughts. So that concludes our opening segment here. And we are going to take our first time out. And once again, we want to thank Park Circle Cafe for sponsoring our show this season. And we'll take our time out. And when we come back, we'll look and talk Cambridge Bobcat football here on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show after this timeout. 740 Sports, all the time. Hello and welcome back to the 740 Sports All Access pregame show, sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And Train, we're going to talk some Cambridge Bobcat football. Now, we did have an opportunity to speak to Coach Leak earlier this week, but unfortunately, that is, we had audio issues, and we're unable to bring that interview to you. So you're going to have to pick up the slack for Coach Leak and Train Cambridge. Since we talked to Coach Leak, their game 2 weeks ago against Warren, their outstanding sophomore quarterback, Garrett Carpenter, was lost for not only that game, but for the remaining rest of the football season. So we want to wish him a speedy recovery. And man, the injury bug has just really decimated this young Bobcat squad.
Oh, yeah, but first we got to give a shout-out to Garrett Carpenter. Definitely second-year opinion. We want him healthy to where he can, unfortunately, not going to play the rest of this year on the gridiron, but on the hardwood, hopefully he gets back there because as good as a football player, he's also a great basketball player as well. And secondly, about Garrett Carpenter, when we talked to Coach Leak, remember he talked about the passing yards where Garrett was in the top 3 in the state in passing yards in the season. So when he went down, so unfortunately for him, he's going to finish with the yardage he had. But what a great accomplishment for that young man to be that high up, and not only just our area where he's by head and shoulders above everybody, but in the state of Ohio. There's some pretty good football schools in the state of Ohio if you haven't paid attention. But obviously the injury bug or injury infestation has killed Cambridge, and again, like what Coach Leak said, half their team's kids that would be playing normally on Saturday, and the other half's their Friday night guys. And obviously, it's going to be an opportunity for those kids to step up, get their feet wet, and prepare for next year.
Yeah, and when you talk about setting school records, you know, that's impressive. When you talk about setting state records, you know, that's next level. And once again, you know, we want to wish Garrett a speedy recovery, and we look forward to watching his talents on the basketball court this season for sure. And someone has to step up and play a quarterback. And last week against Beaver Local, that was Keaton Kaiser, and Kaiser didn't do too bad.
Yeah, Keaton Kaiser came in, probably really hasn't taken a whole bunch of reps under center or in the shotgun, but end up throwing for 119 yards and a couple touchdowns. And when you got a receiver like Devin Ogle out there, well, the best thing you can do is just throw one up in the air, and number 5's going to run it down. And we were talking about records there. Devin Ogle, it's another kid putting himself in state records. Second and third with receptions in a game and yards in a game. I can't remember which one's which now. I think tied for second with receptions and third in yards, but don't quote me on that. But again, Keaton Kaiser put in a tough situation. Obviously kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, but he did a good job as far as commanding the offense. And again, he knew where his bread's buttered, and that's throw it up and let number 5 go get it. And that helped it when he got the 2 touchdown passes for him, finished with 113 yards receiving as well. So it looks like the Carpenter to Ogle connection is going to be the Kaiser to Ogle connection this final game.
Yeah, and give Beaver Local credit. They were able to hold Ogle to only 3 receptions, but 2 of them were touchdowns, and once again, over 100 yards receiving on only 3 catches. Yeah. Devin Ogle has just had a phenomenal record-setting year, and a senior that also jumped in and played some quarterback as well.
Yeah, he took some kind of wildcat snaps for him, added another 24 yards on the ground for the Bobcats. And obviously, like Coach Leak told us in the interview, he's like, we're just trying to find ways to get him in different spots. So it makes it tougher for those guys to double and triple team, which is what Beaver Local did. It's easy to hold somebody to only 3 catches when you got a guy playing man-to-man and another guy shadowing and the playing over top and the other guy playing under. You just don't want to make number 5 beat him. A lot of teams have taken him away at times, but you can't. He's like, what's the phrase? You can't stop him. You can merely hope to contain him. So, and that's kind of what they did in a way.
And Train, speaking along of quarterbacks, Beaver Local, they're on their way and setting nicely, for the playoffs here in 2 weeks. Their quarterback, Austin Klein, showed his skills this past Friday night.
Yeah, this kid's a baller for sure. Had 6 total touchdowns, 4 rushing, 2 passing in the game. Threw for 175 yards, ran for another 139 yards. Really just makes a lot of big plays. Puts great spin on the football. Does a good job running their offense, like Coach Leak said. And credit to their backup quarterback that came in later, the Riley kid. He just commanded their offense. It just seemed like they were in flow and rhythm the whole game. So like Coach Leak said, congratulations to their coaching staff. They did a great job and really had their kids prepared.
And Cambridge closes out the season this Friday night on the road. And they take their MASH unit to St. Clairsville to take on the Red Devil squad that if they're not the best team Cambridge will have faced this season, they're sitting at the table with whoever is.
Well, they beat Indian Valley head-to-head, and Cambridge had to play them. So I'm going to say St. Clairsville is the best team that Cambridge has faced this year, and obviously your best opponent is the next opponent you face. That's the coaching mantra, but this was legit, and obviously going over to St. Clairsville, playing at that stadium's a tough place for a road team to come in, and St. Clairsville's everything that Cambridge wants to be, and that's big and physical. They dominate the line of scrimmage, got a great running back in Dino Burke, over 1,000 yards rushing, over 20 touchdowns rushing, and obviously Cambridge is young. A lot of guys, new faces in new places, young guys probably getting reps on Friday night when they maybe could have used a few more on Saturday. And unfortunately, with injuries, kind of been forced to be thrown in that spotlight. And definitely St. Clairsville is going to be a tall task for the Bobcats.
And Train, when we talked to Coach Leak, we asked him because he's had a tough schedule ever since he's gotten to Cambridge and had a run of first 3 years, 3 consecutive trips to the playoffs, and that's a big accomplishment. We asked Coach Leak if this was the toughest schedule he's ever had as a head coach, period. And we think the answer is yes, because the numbers back it up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is the 6th of their 10 games where their opponent has at least 6 wins in the season. So obviously, they're playing some pretty stiff competition. And like Coach Leak also said, I mean, they graduated, I think he said 17 kids from last year. So, I mean, there's a lot of new kids getting new opportunities. So those teams, while Cambridge lost a lot, those other teams had guys that were back. So they had the experience, and experience is everything. I don't care what sport you're talking about. If you have experience at it, you've been in that situation more than the other person, it is a huge advantage for you.
Yeah, and like we said, Cambridge concludes at St. Clairsville, and the Red Devils, they're sitting nicely in the playoff spots in one of the toughest regions around.
Well, yeah, I don't think there is an easy region, to be honest, of all the ones that our local teams are in. I mean, you've got talent up and down all of these regions, especially it's really, really top heavy. And I mean, looking at this one, I mean, Steubenville's been a team that's kind of been thrown around between 3 and 4. Same with Sheridan. That's your 1 and 2 right now in Division 4, Region 15. And when you think of those two schools specifically, you think football. I mean, they are known for hard, grid-nosed, tough, physical football. And I would hate to be a Division 4 Region 15 team and be sitting at that 15, 16 spot, because one, you're going to have to make a trip to a place that's pretty intimidating to play at, whether it's in Steubenville or Sheridan, Thornville, and it's not going to be an easy trip for them either.
Yeah, and Train, last week was senior night for Cambridge, and Coach Leak, very proud of his seniors, the way they have hung in there and competed this season. And like we said, hey, the last couple of years for this senior group of seniors, they had a run in the playoffs twice. So something to be very proud of their high school career. And we want to wish the Bobcats and Coach Leak the best of luck Friday night at St. Clairsville. And we want to thank Coach Leak for the time that he has given us on-site practice, as well as coming up here. And again, we apologize for the technical difficulties we had with our interview with Coach Leak, but we want to thank him for all his support for our show. So that wraps up our Cambridge Bobcat segment here on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. We're going to take another time out, and when we come back, we're going to talk Meadowbrook Colt football as they've got a big game on the road against West Muskingum this Friday night, and we'll do that after this timeout.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
Welcome back to the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. We just talked Cambridge Bobcat football in our last segment. And Train, now it's time to talk Meadowbrook Colts as they have a big game this Friday night at West Muskingum. Mathematically still alive, but Meadowbrook will have to beat maybe the best team on their schedule to keep those hopes alive.
Yeah, minus maybe Indian Valley and maybe a little bit of John Glenn, but this West Muskingum team is legit, and really the past few years have really made a lot of gains. They have improved a lot, and there's a reason why they're sitting on top of the MVO small school division. It's just a very good program right now, got a lot of talent. It's going to be a tough battle Friday night up on the hill.
Yeah, and Meadowbrook, after starting off the season 4-1, they've lost 4 games in a row to some quality football teams. And they played a quality team this past Friday night in the Morgan Raiders. And Train, you always want to get off to a good start. It's your last home game at senior night. But, boy, the Raiders came in locked and loaded, scoring the first 48 points of the ball game.
Yeah, they came out like a house on fire, scoring the first 48 points of the game. Ended up being a record-breaking night for Morgan's program. The 69 points they scored in the game was a school record for most in a game. I mean, the Niswanger kid had 5 touchdown passes, which tied a school record. The Searle kid, who's their number 1 receiver, set the new school record for receptions at yards in a season. He set a new school record for 4 touchdowns in a game, receiving touchdowns in a game. So just really, they came out guns a-blazing, so to speak. Yeah,
and Meadowbrook, give them credit. They could have folded the tents. They continued to battle, and offensively, Meadowbrook, they haven't had the balance the past few weeks that they had early in the season, but that balance did come back Friday night.
Yeah, and like you said, they didn't quit. That's a credit to all of our coaches in the area. They do a great job of having their kids prepared, having them ready to play, and make sure they play all 4 quarters, all 48 minutes of football, and never give up. And like you said, the running game's kind of been a little bit of a struggle for the Colts the past 3 weeks, but against Morgan, Dalen Rivera probably had his best game of the year with 113 yards rushing, had 2 touchdowns. I know one of those touchdowns was over 40 yards. Justice Huey threw for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdown passes, one to his main target, Nick Norman, who had 12 catches, 129 yards, and Jacob Burris, who's kind of known for his interceptions, seems like weekly. He also added a touchdown for the Colts. So the offense worked, and the unfortunate thing for the offense, they were a 2-point specialist team, but they didn't convert any of their 2-point conversions last Friday night.
And Train, credit the Morgan Raiders. They had lost a tough game in week 8, and they really had to have a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And now with the victory over Meadowbrook, the Raiders, they kind of control their own destiny in week 10. So they came in really energized and locked in and maybe played their best game of the season.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Morgan, that they host Crooksville this Friday, which on looking at it on paper, the Raiders should win that game. They are the odds-on favorite to win the game, but they're in Division 4, 15, Region 15 instead of Division 5, Region 19. They bumped up, and when you bump up and you've got teams like Steubenville, you've got teams like Sheridan, you got teams like Bishop Hartley, St. Clairsville,
Indian
Valley. Right? I mean, there's 5 teams that I can name right off the top of my head that are complete powerhouses, and the odds are right now that Morgan's going to be making a trip with a victory Friday. They could be making a trip to Steubenville, which is probably, of those, probably one of the last ones I'd want to face.
Yeah, and Meadowbrook closing out the season at West Muskingum. Meadowbrook's 4-5. They would love to get to 500, and a win would keep them in contention for the playoffs. Then it would just be waiting to crunch the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Meadowbrook wins Friday night. They are going to get a lot of points with that win over West Muskingum, that's for sure. And then, of course, like everybody, you look at Fantastic 50.net, it has a big list of teams that you're rooting for, and everybody's rooting for somebody, and it seems like some teams are rooting against each other. So it definitely kind of makes things interesting, that's for sure. And it's going to be a tough situation for Meadowbrook. Obviously, they're hanging in by a thread, but when you say there's a chance, there's still a chance, and you don't give up until it says mathematically eliminated.
Yes, and when you get into week 10, the weather always seems to show up. They're calling for rain Friday night, of course. That could change by the time Friday gets here. But West Muskingum trained, they're 8-1, and this is a football program that has really been on the rise over the last few years.
Oh, they have just continued to improve. I mean, they got a good quarterback in Jake Anton, but it really starts with their running back, Rashad Cisse. That kid, earlier this year, I believe it was against Morgan, he had set the record for most touchdowns in a game with 6 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he's an absolute stud, can make plays. He can turn a 2-yard gain into a 80-yard touchdown run in a heartbeat. Kid is tough to bring down, just a complete warrior, and he will battle. And if you don't get to him and you don't gang tackle him, he's going to take it to the house.
And when you look at Meadowbrook's chances, what are some things that are going to have to go right if they are to pull off the big upset Friday night?
It starts with winning in the trenches. You talk to Coach Norman, that's what he talks about every week. He's like, we have to win up front on the offensive and defensive lines. Secondly, they got to establish the ground game, keep a balanced attack. Don't kind of shy away from the pass or the run when they fall behind a little bit. They got to stick with it and limit the turnovers. I mean, sounds a lot like pretty much every coach we've heard. Win in the trenches, balanced offense, and don't turn the ball over. You can do those 3 things, and you're on the plus side of all 3 of them. Your chances are pretty good.
And Train, you talk about Coach Norman. What a great job him and his staff has done with this still young football team. Remember, after the amazing, 6-year run or so that Meadowbrook's had in football as well as basketball and, the other sports as well. Graduation really hit them last year. They won 1 game. And then this year coming out, won 4 out of their first 5. And were probably, I think without a doubt, the feel-good story of the first 5 weeks of the football season.
Oh, definitely. I think they stunned a lot of people those first 5 weeks. I don't think people expect them to start 4-1. And then unfortunately, really, they just had a gauntlet of a schedule these last 4 weeks. A lot of tough competition. I mean, people probably looked in at Coshocton and saw them as an 0-6 team and thought, oh, they're 0-6. We got a great shot here. But, man, that's like we said, Coshocton was probably the best 0-6 team in the state of Ohio at that point, and they really proved it because last week they fought tooth and nail with West Muskingum, who West Muskingum only beat them by 1 point, either 58-57 or 57-56, something like that. But, man, that's a good team. And then, obviously, John Glenn's a great program. Morgan proved they were good, and I'm forgetting one other. New Lex. Lex is always a quality program. I really like what their coach does, and plus I believe he's a Cubs fan too, so that puts him a notch up in my book.
Yeah, and Train, and also the balance that Meadowbrook's had from the running game. We knew Justice Huey could throw the football, but they had different guys show up running the football as well as receiving.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little point there in the middle of the season where Dalen Rivera was a little banged up, but Braden Black and Cooper McManaway helped carry the load. And I think Justin Huey, Justice Huey, has done a little bit better job on that read option, the RPO stuff that they run. And he's been able to get some yardage, and he's running a little faster, running a little harder, making a little bit better decisions. And he's a threat more of a threat when he's got it on the ground. And then obviously Nick Norman's the go-to receiver in that offense. But freshman Bentley Cedar, he's had a real good seasons, had some big plays. Landon Coon's been a nice receiver for him. They got some decent weapons they're developing, and like you talked about, that Meadowbrook's still young. They're only losing 5 or 6 seniors this year. So, and again, they got another 8th grade class that's coming up next year as freshmen. That's another real good class. So it's going to continue to develop and get those freshmen that are going to be sophomores next year ready for a little bit more of a brighter spotlight on Friday night, and maybe sprinkle in a few of those freshmen, like maybe that 8th grade group has a Bentley Cedar who can make the transition to Friday night lights. So there's a lot of high energy down in Byesville for sure for this Meadowbrook program in the future where it's headed.
Yeah, and I tell you, Meadowbrook made big strides on the defensive side of the football as well under the tutelage of defensive coordinator Johnny Jones. So Meadowbrook, a lot to look forward to in a big game Friday night against West Muskingum. And as we head to break, we want to once again thank the head coach of Meadowbrook, Steve Norman, for the time he has put in on our show, visiting with us and talking about his Colts. Coach Norman, a great guy and a lot of fun to interview. And we look forward to seeing him down the road as well. So that concludes our Meadowbrook Colts segment. We'll take a timeout here on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And when we come back, we'll look at Old Washington and talk Buckeye Trail football. They have a big game week 10, which could possibly set them up playing in week 11. And we'll talk about that after this timeout. 740 Sports, all the time. Welcome back, and thanks once again for joining us here on 740 Sports.
All sports, all the time.
To our all-access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. We talked Cambridge. We talked Meadowbrook. Train. Let's talk Buckeye Trail football. They have a monster game this Friday night on the road at Newcomerstown. Before we talk Newcomerstown, let's look back this past Friday night. And the Warriors senior night, they had a big win over East Canton and sent their seniors out in style.
Yeah, and it's always nice that you get to send them out in style, but you also had your seniors step up, and there probably isn't a bigger senior duo that mean as much to them offensively and defensively than Cohen Egan and Charlie Perry.
Here comes a nice
Cohen
run
Egan
up
had
the
over
middle.
200
It's
yards
Egan.
rushing and 2 touchdowns offensively. Charlie Perry had over 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And then Charlie, what can you say about him defensively?
And Charlie
Plays both
Perry
ways,
up the
plays
middle.
pretty much every down. Finished again with another ho-hum 10 tackles. I mean, that's expected for him. Coach Kearns, unfortunately, with the audio issue, we had interviewed him but couldn't get the audio to work. Said Perry has over 100 tackles this year, so very impressive feat. Cohen Egan, he mentioned he's averaging over 10 yards a carry on the season. Broke 1,000 yards rushing after last Friday's game. So congratulations on that. The 15th ever 1,000-yard rusher. So we got some good tidbits we're pointing out here. And then add the icing on cake for Charlie. He had not only an interception, but a fumble recovery for the Warriors. So just a great game, and congratulations to those two young men. Great senior year, and especially congratulations to Cohen breaking 1,000 yards rushing. That's an amazing accomplishment for a high school player.
Oh, you're right. Cohen Egan needed 129 yards to go over 1,000 and join the record books. And he had 2 games to do that in, but he didn't waste any time. He got it done Friday night, 204 yards rushing, and he has carried the ball less than 100 times this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. Like I said, over 10 yards a carry. And the really nice thing, I want to go back to Charlie Perry. I know Coach Kearns and I kind of talked about that, and he mentioned it in one of our interviews a couple weeks ago, just how much different he is as a runner these past couple weeks. And man, I noticed it early in the game against East Canton. It seemed when obviously a lot of those runs for Egan's kind of outside on the perimeter runs, so teams are really focused on stopping those runs in the perimeter. But Charlie playing that fullback position in the wing tee, he's just hitting that hole right up the gut. And believe me, when you're as big as he is, he's a tough kid to break down, and he's running hard, and he's running angry, and he's running fast, and it's making him look a lot more dangerous on the offensive end, as looking as much on the of a threat on the offensive end as he is on the defensive end.
Yeah, and train Coach Kearns, when talking in our interview, like you said, that we lost due to audio technical difficulties, said Charlie Perry, it was during their tough loss against Malvern. In fact, that's the last time the Warriors have lost, that Charlie Perry has really taken off as a running back. But you're right, on the defensive side of the football, he's been rock solid since game 1. Mm-hmm. And there's not many linebackers that have played any better than Charlie Perry in our area. So he continues to play well. But Train, the one guy that doesn't get as much ink or publicity maybe, is the senior quarterback, Braden Williams, for the Warriors. Here's a kid that this is his first year starting as a varsity quarterback. In fact, he was sharing the quarterback load with the junior Travis Dodd, who also had a nice season, but just could not stay healthy. And unfortunately, Travis is out with an ankle injury. So Braden Williams, his improvement from the beginning of the season to now has been remarkable. Not only throwing the football, but being a football guy yourself, when you run the wing tee, your quarterback has to be able to carry out fakes, and the timing on the handoffs, they're impeccable, and he's doing that as well as anybody.
Yeah, when you got somebody under center or taking out of the shotgun, when they run their shotgun wing tee, just does a good job selling one thing and they're hitting you with another. So he's done a real good job at it. And I know you mentioned it. He throws a great jump ball as they did the nice little jump ball to Charlie Perry, 2-point conversion pass a few different times there.
And Brady Hastings
and
as
Brady
well.
Hastings.
Yes.
So really, when you got a kid that's doing that, it's just continuing to build his confidence. And you've seen some money throws. And I love, for all high school players, all kids coming up, if you are a stud pitcher, play football and be that quarterback for the team. I'm telling you, that's going to build up arm strength and maybe a different type of throw. But still, man, I always think being a kid and I seeing a Nolan Ryan baseball card and he was throwing a football. And I'm telling you what, if you don't know who Nolan Ryan is, probably one of the toughest baseball players of all time. When you're 40 plus years old and you being a guy and then he charges you, who's probably half your age, and you put him in a headlock and knock him down like he did Robin Ventura, that's enough for me to have that old man's respect for sure. And definitely Braden Williams has done a great job as far as really improving week to week.
Yes, and he gave him a little noogie first before he knocked him out. You're right about that. But, Train, one thing that has stood out on the offensive side of the football for the Warriors has been the balance. And give Coach Kearns a lot of credit. You look at Friday night this as an example. Charlie Perry and Cohen Egan, they combined for about 320 yards or so on 13 carries. You got Blake Wable running the football. You got Mason Todd running the football. You got Jansen Alloway running the football. And then Braden Williams as well. Travis Dodd before he went down with his ankle injury. There's just been a boatload of running backs. In fact, their victory over TCC, they had 8 rushing touchdowns by 6 different guys. And now you've got a freshman getting some time at quarterback, and Drew McGlumphy, he can spin the football, but he showed Friday night he can run it as well. He had 71 yards on the ground.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun kid to watch. I remember seeing Coach Kearns this summer, and I saw on social media Drew and his family and all kinds of different football clinics that he's been to, and talking about all the work that he's been putting in at quarterback. I'm like, wow, this kid looks like he's going to be a pretty good player for you, and he's only a freshman, so definitely Coach Kearns is excited to see where he can finish as far as with that Buckeye Trail program when he's a senior year, looking down the road 3 years and seeing just how much progress that kid makes, because obviously as a freshman he looked pretty good, especially last Friday against East Canton.
Yeah, and now that leads us Friday night, a big game with Newcomerstown and Buckeye Trail. They're both in the same region. Newcomerstown, right now, they're sitting in the playoffs, but they still really need a win to automatically set them up for Week 11. Buckeye Trail just outside the playoffs, looking for a win and a little help to get in.
Yeah, Newcomerstown win. They're in. They're currently sitting at number 10 in the rankings. Buckeye Trail needs a win, and then they need some help. They're sorry to the Zaps, but they're rooting for the Redskins Friday night. They're rooting for Dawson Barrett, not Andre Dawson, Chris Barrett, just Chris Bryant. Excuse me, Dawson and Bryant. Let me start this joke over. Not Andre Dawson and Chris Bryant, just Dawson Barrett.
He's a Cubs fan, everybody.
Yes, it's Cubs fans. So first things I think of, and it's definitely not Heath Dawson. They're rooting for Newark Catholic, which is also a team that Shenandoah is rooting for, and Utica. So they need to win and need a little bit of help. The Warriors are. And talking to Coach Kearns, he said he was pretty confident with some of those. Other ones he's a little shaky about, but obviously what comes down, then I'm sure Coach Kearns, he said it, take care of their own business. They got to take care of their business and not worry about the scores of those other games until they finish their job.
And train, both teams love to run the football. When we talked to Coach Kearns this week, and it could be rainy, muddy conditions, so it could really be an entertaining game. We know it's going to be an entertaining game, but you throw in the possible bad weather, it's going to be who can take care of the football and against adverse weather conditions.
Yeah, the thing I can't remember, is Lee Stadium turf now, or is it field turf, or is it still grass? I know years ago it was grass, but we're talking 2003, 2004, probably the last time I've been there. If it's still a grass field, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is the monsoon at Cambridge and Meadowbrook about 4 years ago, where you're sitting up in the press box and you're trying to read the numbers and you have no clue who's who, because both teams are covered in mud. So that's going to make it interesting. Hopefully people have the right cleats on, because you're not going to have much traction when you're slipping and sliding. It's going to be a slip and slide, not a football field. But I can't remember if they have the field turf or not, which is an advantage for both teams. If it's in grass, it's going to be definitely a mud race for sure.
Yeah, and like we said, if it's on turf, still with the weather condition and the way both teams like to hand the ball off, misdirection plays and stuff like that, timing, everything's going to be there. The Buckeye Trail defense, they're going to have to be sound, which they have been all year, especially against the run. And their ability to get to the quarterback, Wyatt Connor had a sack Friday night. Brady Hastings once again had another sack. I was at Reesbeck's, got my groceries. I was waiting for Brady Hastings to pop out and sack my groceries because, he seems to do it every week on Friday night, and he's going to be big as well.
And Jace Hickman also had a big fumble recovery there for the Warriors, too. So a lot of different guys stepping up, making plays for him.
Yeah, Jansen Alloway playing big, Mason Todd, and Blake Wable. He's really come on. He had one of the biggest hits of the high school football season this past Friday night against East Canton. So it ought to be a lot of fun, and we want to wish Coach Kearns and the Buckeye Trail Warriors the best of luck Friday night. It'll be a lot of fun as they travel to Newcomerstown. Warriors, winners of 3 of their last 4, looking with a win to possibly move on to the playoffs. That's every team's ultimate goal right there. And speaking of Coach Kearns, we want to thank him in advance for all the time he has spent on our show. Great guy, great coach, and a lot of fun to be around. So, Coach Kearns, we thank you for your time. And speaking of coaches, we're going to take a time out, and when we come back, we're going to talk Noble County Super Bowl and have the pleasure to interview Coach Josh Lowry of the Shenandoah Zeps and Coach Chance Rucker of the Caldwell Redskins. We'll get their thoughts on their big rivalry game that has major playoff implications as well when we come back on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
Welcome back to the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And now it's time to talk a little Noble County football, and that is the Noble County Super Bowl this Friday night. Caldwell and Shenandoah set to do battle, and we're honored to be joined live in studio by the head coach of the Zeps, the one and only Josh Lowry. And Coach Lowry, we know it's a busy week. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here, always.
All right, now, Coach, you have coached in some big rivalry games, Cambridge and Meadowbrook. And now, it's the Noble County Super Bowl. But I want to ask you, so many times it's for bragging rights. It means so much, to the communities. But when you add playoff implications on top of that, how much getting ready for the game Friday night is to focus on the playoffs, or is it, hey, we've got to beat our big rival?
I think it's just you got to beat your big rival. I mean, if you do take care of that part, you're in the playoffs. But I know going into this week, we have to win in order to get in. And they're playing for a top 4 seed, I do believe, and trying to host 2 playoff games. So there'll be a lot of excitement this Friday night.
And now you were part of the rivalry with Cambridge and Meadowbrook, and they always had the team up north in Byesville. So is that talk kind of down in Shenandoah and Caldwell where they call you guys Sayersville and you call them the team down south? Or is there any kind of nicknames that you guys have for each other this week?
No, we try not to say the word, at all. I guess that would be it. And we also don't wear red. So, I think down there that's just about it. But the Cambridge Meadowbrook one is just a little bit more personal. So,
and Coach, I tell you what, if Hollywood produced a movie on the Zeps football season, some people would say this ain't reality because you've had about the craziest season. So many positives and good things going, but it's just been a play here or there that has kept you from possibly being 8-1, definitely 7-2 this season.
Right. We've turned the ball over a lot in key situations. That's been it. I mean, like you said, if you go through and you look at our scores, they're one possession games, so they're one score. And it always seems to happen at the wrong time. And, we've talked about it, but turning the ball over, you can't do that and expect to win ball games.
And, Train, you crunched some numbers on Coach's statement there.
4 of their 6 losses, like he said, have been 8 points or less, 1 score. And the other loss was a game you were leading at halftime. So, again, just waiting for the tables to turn, I guess you could say, hoping that you can kind of get a break falling your way. And then just unfortunately, the cookie hasn't crumbled your way through these first 9 weeks.
Right. I know versus UL, if you look at it late in the game, we let them score trying to get the ball back. So, that's why that one changed. But, like I said, we threw too many interceptions at the wrong periods of time. We always seem to fumble, and the other team seems to capitalize on those turnovers. So that's where we're at.
But, Coach, I tell you what, you look at, some of your wins, you've gone in the fourth quarter having to win those. So I think when you look at the showdown Friday night, as always, it always seems to come down to the fourth quarter. And I think whether your team is down by a score or up by a score, they got to feel like, hey, this is our in our wheelhouse. We've been in games like this all year.
Right. It's funny because as a coach, you always go back and look at your stats. And I compared the stats last year to this year. They're very similar. Only difference is last year we started slow. This year we're starting fast, but we're not finishing the jobs. And, I think that's why our 3-6 record shows it.
So we got to have a little Shenandoah Caldwell trivia here for you. See how well you know the rivalry.
Okay.
What number game is this between the Zeps and the Redskins?
I do believe it's 59. 58, 59.
I think it's 60.
Is it 60? Okay.
So, hey, 59 close.
Close. Playing 59. We'll give you that.
Playing 59, this is 60.
Okay.
We'll take that.
I'll take that.
Okay. Last time Shenandoah won?
2 years ago. So that would be, 2021, 2020, somewhere about there.
2020, Shenandoah, 14-6. And the amazing thing, just looking at these scores, they have been low-scoring slugfest. Now, last year there was 46 combined points, but the previous 2 years, like I said, 14-6 in 2020, and then 7-0 Caldwell won in 2021. So it just seems like when you two get on the field, it's you're testing your manhood, and it's going to be a battle between the tier 2 teams.
Right. If you go back and even look last year, it was one of those games where we jumped out early. I do believe we ended up blocking a punt and recovering in the end zone. And then our first possession that we had, I think it was first play, we ended up scoring. And we was up early, I think 12-0, 13-0 on them. And, once again, we turned the ball over, and they got back into the ball game, and they ended up winning in the end.
Now, Coach, when you look at this Redskins squad, here's a team that got out of the gates fast. Then they've ran a gauntlet the last 3 weeks, which has been absolutely brutal.
Right.
Playing Barnesville, playing Fort Fry, and playing Toronto.
Right.
So now they've got to get ready to play their biggest rival in the Zeps. What have you seen from the Redskins that maybe concerns you the most?
They're similar to us. They have a quarterback, Bender, who throws the ball well. They got receivers and stuff, and they can run it and pass it. So we basically, both of us are facing injuries. I've heard that the Bender kid has had a couple injuries, and the Hurling kid also. But at the end of the day, it's your rival. You throw all that stuff out the door, and you show up on Friday night, you play, and best team will win.
And obviously, with this being with the rankings and everything and playoff implications, obviously you can, I guess, hope you can win, and then it's kind of scoreboard watching to see where you finish. And there's a lot of different teams. I love the Fantastic50.net website. Yeah. Coach Kearns hooked us up with it there a few weeks ago, and I've been using it for a lot. So you guys need a nice little fivesome of victors in Buckeye Trail, Newark Catholic, Shadyside, Piketon, and Plymouth to win to really help your rankings. I really think that's kind of cool because it really just it gives you a little more of an insight on stuff and really a lot of cool stuff that site has broke down for you.
Right. And but you know what? At the end of the day, none of that matters unless we take care of business.
Yep.
I mean, we take care of business, then we'll do the scoreboard watching. But, I mean, if we don't, then there's no sense in watching the scoreboard. But I'm excited for Friday night. I hear it's going to rain, so we've been preparing for
Yes.
that. But, I mean, like you said, it could be another low-scoring game where both teams just line up and just, pound the ball down each other's throats. So.
Yeah, and Coach Lowry, it's funny. We were talking off air about you and Coach Kearns at Buckeye Trail. You two good friends, and for them to get in, they're in the same region as you. Yeah. For them to make the playoffs, they need a win, and they need you to lose. Yeah. And I think if you win, I think you're in. Yeah. But you need Buckeye Trail to win. So it's kind of funny. You're rooting for the Warriors this week. They're rooting against you. Right. So
just so Donnie knows, I'm a big Warriors fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big Warriors
Look straight in that camera.
Yeah. Donnie, I'm here for you, man. I need you.
Donnie, and I want to say, how can you sleep at night rooting against this guy? Unbelievable. I'm glad you're taking the high road there.
Always.
And rooting for the Warriors. But, Coach, getting into Friday night's game, you talk about injuries. How is the team as far as that for the big game?
Man, listen, on my end, we have a decent amount of kids out. But I will say the kids that we have are stepping up and doing their jobs. But up front, we're hurting the most. A lot of knee injuries. Braxton, actually, our QB, hurt his thumb, and he's in a cast right now. So we'll see what's up with him. But moving forward, like I said, it's a rival. I mean, everybody should be up for the game, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Train, we talked about Caldwell running this gauntlet. You've played some big teams here on the second half of your schedule as well to get you ready for Week 10 and possibly Week 11.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, I mean, the past 2 weeks it's been River. And we know River's always good, and then we faced a great Barnesville team last week who's just loaded. So, I mean, I will say I'm happy we survived, no injuries last week, and we're ready to go for Week 10.
And Monroe Central, too. They're not at the Coach Circosta level, right. Monroe Central, but that's an improving team that's really, I thought's made a lot of strides this year.
Their QB's pretty good.
And I mean, I know I saw Coach Circosta kind of got hurt there a couple weeks ago on the sideline, so we wish him well if he's watching here tonight. But obviously, you guys, you get in, great things. You're in the playoffs. You get to play Week 11. Right. But the thing is, you're going to be traveling to a powerhouse program more than likely with Garaway, West Jefferson, and Fort Fry as the options. So definitely, you're going to have to. You're definitely going to have your hands full not only Week 10, but hopefully Week 11 as well.
Right. Like I said before, just if we get in Week 11, we'll prepare for whoever our opponent is. But we got to take care of business Week 10.
Now, Coach, you've got to put points on the board and Train. One thing that stands out with Shenandoah is the balance. I mean, it's getting the ball to the wide receivers, and he has 3 that have had outstanding seasons.
Yeah, Hunter Yates, Weston Miley, and Brendan Portman, all 3 have really stepped up from time to time and been that go-to receiver for you. Catch that big pass, get a first down, or get that big play for a touchdown in the end zone. How important and how nice is it for you to have not just one elite receiver, not 2 elite receivers, but to have 3 guys where you can get it to and they're going to make a play.
It makes it a lot easier to call plays, I will say that. But, the defense has to really prepare for all 3 of them. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of the defenses, they'll put a safety over top of Portman, which leaves Miley and Yates one-on-one. And, I mean, they've been able to come through and have big plays for us. Win
your matchup. That's what it's all about, right?
Yep.
And, Coach, as we wrap things up, we want to, again, thank you for joining us. But I want you to finish this sentence. If the Zeps do these 3 things Friday night, they'll be headed to Week 11 and champions of the Noble County Super Bowl.
I will say, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over. That's it. That's the big thing for us, man. We got to be able to hold on to the ball. I mean, that's been our nemesis all year, and if we do that, I guarantee a victory.
So I think what he's saying is they don't need to turn the ball over.
I think that's going to be
for the ones that didn't get it.
Yeah, and Coach, this is our second time getting you up here, and it has truly been a blast. And like I said, your season definitely hasn't been boring or dull.
No.
It's been exciting and entertaining, and it's been quite a wild ride for you and your squad, and we look forward to the game Friday night, and we want to wish you the best of luck against the Redskins.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm always happy to come and talk with the legends.
There he is.
He's talking about you and who else?
And once again, if you're watching it, please do not adjust anything on your screen. He truly is that good looking.
Yes.
So, Coach Lowry,
Never bashful.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Always one of the more entertaining interviews we ever have. And we want to thank you once again for joining us here on 740 Sports.
All sports, all the time.
Yes. And on our pregame show, sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And we're going to take a timeout. And when we do, we'll be joined by the head coach of the Caldwell Redskins, Chance Rucker, and get his thoughts on the Noble County Super Bowl after this timeout. 740 Sports. All sports, all the time. And welcome back to the 740 Sports All Access pregame show. As we're coming to you, going old school, like back in 2020. Remember those good old days? Because we are honored, after talking to Coach Lowry last segment of the Shenandoah Zeps, we are now truly honored to be joined by the head coach of the Caldwell Redskins, the one and only Chance Rucker. And, Coach, I know you've been very busy this week getting ready and gearing up for the Noble County Super Bowl. We want to thank you for taking some time out for us.
Well, first thing is I want to appreciate you guys for sending me the invite to being able to talk on this show. It's a great honor, love doing it, and let's get ready to rock.
All right. Well, Coach, before we talk to Coach Chance Rucker, I just want to take you back real quick, back in the day when you were Caldwell football star, Chance Rucker. Your senior year, you get picked to play in the prestigious OVAC All-Star game. And if you can recall, do you remember who coached you in that game?
It was actually the Cambridge coaching staff with Coach Gunn.
And?
Coach Lowry.
Yes.
Josh Lowry. I think it was Josh and Jamal. Jamal, I think.
Yes.
Jamal, maybe his son. One of the brothers were out helping him. One of Josh's brothers were helping.
Yeah, Josh mentioned that last segment that he got the opportunity to coach you in the OVAC All-Star game. And we kind of thought that was pretty neat going into the big game Friday night. And, Coach, speaking of the big game, I'm going to ask you the same question I started off with him. We know how important the Noble County Super Bowl is for Shenandoah and Caldwell. But when you throw on the added playoff implications, which is talked about more this week?
Obviously, you got to take 1 week at a time. Keeping the guys focused, level-headed, especially with the high environment that it's going to be. It's going to be electric. It's going to be a rivalry, regardless of what are the point spreads picked to be, regardless of whatever the records are prior to this game. I pretty much told my guys that, listen, it's 0-0. I mean, we're 0-0 going into this football game, and, we just got to focus 1 week at a time. We got to focus on Shenandoah. I don't want to get their hopes and aspirations up thinking about the playoffs right now because, Shenandoah's they're a potent team and they have the capability of knocking us off our horse.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said it's not playoffs, it's Noble County Super Bowl. And if you win that game, then week 11 takes care of itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're even treating it as if this is the round one of the playoffs. That's what we're telling amongst the staff. That's kind of what we're queuing this up to be.
And obviously, we played a little trivia with Coach Lowry when he was up here in the studio. Now for you, what number game is this for the Noble County Super Bowl between Caldwell and Shenandoah?
This is the 60th.
See, I told Coach Lowry it's 60. He was like 58, 59, 60, somewhere in there. So, yes the 60th edition. Okay, we're going to, since last year was your first or second year?
Second year.
Okay.
Yep.
So, what's your record in this rival?
Coaching?
As a head coach, yes.
2-0.
There we go. Now,
how about as a player?
4-0.
Wow.
Wow. So,
and then even if you go junior high and Pee Wee, undefeated. Never lost to it. Never lost to it.
There you go. So you definitely want to continue that trend.
Absolutely.
Obviously, when you guys meet, it seems like you said, it's going to be a slugfest, and that's going to be no different, especially when they're calling for rain on Friday night. And you guys obviously playing at the Noble County Fairgrounds. That's not exactly an easy place to play at when the weather could be a possible monsoon on a Friday night. But man, it sure is fun to watch.
No, absolutely. We're doing our Redskin rain dance, and we're hoping that stays away. And we're doing our anti-rain dance and making sure it stays away. And we have a nice evening for kickoff. But like you said, the conditions, we got to be able to play in whatever. Whether we're playing week 10, whether we're playing week 15, and it's going to be cold and the ball's going to be slick, you got to be prepared to play in any conditions. And guess what? They're playing in the same conditions we are, so shouldn't be a factor.
Coach, 2 questions for you. The Zeps, Coach Lowry talked about the injuries that they've had coming down the stretch and what they're dealing with. What is the health of your team?
As of right, we lost 2 early guys. We lost guys before the season even started. One was in a dirt bike accident, and he broke his femur, and then the other one shattered his leg. Guys that could have helped us later in the season. But as of right now, just beaten, banged up, just sore, that type of stuff, having a 10-game or 10-week long season. Just little things, nothing major. But, that's what we're super fortunate that we still have all the guys, all of our starters that we've had since week 1, and being able to grow with that.
And Coach, I like to segue into your comment latter part of the season. You got off the first 6 weeks or so just blazing. I don't know of a team I can think of off the top of my head that has run a 3-week gauntlet like you have with Barnesville, Fort Fry, and Toronto. Now, you lost all 3 of those, but going into this Friday night and week 11 and beyond, hopefully for you, what positives could you take out of those 3 losses?
Well, in the preseason, we knew that we even nicknamed it the Gauntlet. We nicknamed our last 4 games. It's going to be the Gauntlet. Not taking anything away from the first 6 opponents, but we knew. There were some asterisks beside those 4 games, and we knew we were going to take our lumps. And obviously, when poor execution works, it definitely is. It made into effect. But we learned a lot because we want to build the program, and me being as a 3-year head coach, 3rd-year head coach, we want to build the programs to the teams that beat us like that. Like for Barnesville, that Barnesville is a juggernaut. And, if their region wasn't so stacked, I would have them predicted to win the regional title just because all aspects of the game, offense, defense, special teams, they just had ball players and everybody working together and wanting to do everything. But so that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to have, that team unity and just everybody flying the ball, making plays.
Yeah, and obviously those 3 teams, Barnesville, Fort Fry, and Toronto, combined 24-3 records. So pretty stinking good teams. But looking at your scores, those first 6 weeks, man, offensively, the least amount of points you scored was week 1 against Buckeye Trail, 39 points, and all the others were 41 points or more. So really just talk about how explosive you guys can be offensively, because you got a good quarterback in Bender and you got some nice weapons that he can get the ball to.
And this is, yeah, absolutely. This is the product of, taking our chance on a sophomore Cale Bender and putting these guys, the younger guys, whenever I first came into the head coaching job, and, pretty much throwing them the wolves and letting them come back the Wolfpack leader. And, this is the product of having to take those lumps as a first-year head coach. We didn't win a lot of ball games. I think we went 6-5 with playoff record and everything. Lost some games that we probably shouldn't have. But at the same time, this is what we're getting. This is the latter part. This is what we're reaping. And, our explosive offense, we have every single one of our receivers, or I should say any one of our skill guys, have the ability to take it to the house. So just being that explosive, that fast, that electric, that's something awesome to be as a head coach. I know our offense coordinator loves it. So just being able to score and it could be a 1-play drive, it could be a 10-play drive, and we're going to be just as explosive.
And just mention some of those kind of explosive players on the offensive end. Obviously, starts with Bender, but mention those nice receivers you have, and even you kind of have one receiver that's kind of a running back / receiver for you as well.
Yeah, so starting off, our leading receiver right now is Alex Hurlin. He's a 6'3", 185 guy that can absolutely fly. Every 50-50 ball that's been thrown his way, I think he's came down with everyone but like 2 or 3. And, he's another guy that just wasn't really football intelligent when he first came into the program, and now he's redirecting all the young guys and kind of putting them in the right mindset. The next guy is Dylan Wheeler, and he's kind of our split guy. He gets reps in the backfield, and he's also our slot receiver. So we kind of use him as a dual threat, like Debo Samuel type of guy. He can run the ball, and then he could also, hurt him in the pass game as well. And then Hunter Petrie, he's a first-year player this year. He's about 6'2", 165, and he's another flyer that he just came on late this year. I think his biggest game was in the Toronto game. He had like 4 catches for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Toronto game. So he's another one that's warming up, heating up, getting ready for the latter part of this season. And then Ethan Kroc, our H-back / hand in the dirt tight end, he has over 30 catches, 400 yards, and 6 or 7 touchdowns on the year. So got a lot of guys that can go down the field and score touchdowns.
And, Coach, when you look at a big rivalry game, the number one cliche is you can throw the records, out when the 2 rivalries get together. But I tell you, this year more than anything, when you look at the Zeps, they come in with a record of 3-6, and they know they have to win to more likely get into the playoffs. But you look at some losses and the number of one-score games that they have lost this year, and it's been because of turnovers. Now, how much have you honed in on that and let your team know, hey, this team is just a few plays from being 7-2 on the season?
Oh, that's one of our main things. That's why, like I said in the preseason, we put the asterisks because we know that it's going to be a gauntlet. It's going to be a tough game. These guys are going to be ready to play, and like you said, with the added motivation, they win, they're in. They're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. Coming over to Noble County, they want to ruin that for us at home. But at the end of the day, we just got to be able to get the job done, do what we do, defend the fairgrounds, and just get after it.
That would make a great shirt, Trey. Defend the fairgrounds. I like the fairgrounds.
We're patenting it now, and
there it is.
So after the game, you guys happen to win, they won't throw them out like the NFC, AFC championship games in the NFL. And,
perfect. I love
or
that.
Super Bowl winner. But you guys obviously very, very similar with Shenandoah as far as style of play. And I asked Coach Lowry, obviously he's a Cambridge guy, graduating. I said they had the rivalry with Meadowbrook, and it was always Cambridge was the team up north, and Meadowbrook was called Byesville by them. So is there any kind of things that you guys have. Coach Lowry said, well, we try not to say the C word in Shenandoah, and we don't wear red that week. So do you guys have any mandatory things for the players?
Yeah, we say the team over the hill because there's a big hill that separates Caldwell from Sayersville. And yeah, green is not in any of our, let's say, wearing of any sort. I don't care if they're wearing green shoelaces. We'll take them out and put black ones or red ones in. So yeah, something similar like that. That's just comes, and that's the fun within a rivalry. Yeah. It's not quite Ohio State, Michigan hatred each other, fist fights on the 50. But that's just the rivalry aspect of it. And, obviously everything's amplified week 10 because everybody's got that marked on their calendar for the Noble County Super Bowl.
Well, right now, if it comes to it between you and Coach Lowry, it's a toss up on Vegas odds right now. So they're really hoping that it can happen.
And Coach, when you look at this ZEP squad, you've had a chance, to break things down. What are some of the biggest concerns and problems that they pose for your Redskin squad?
So all season they had Braxton Barnett, and unfortunately he was hurt there a couple weeks ago. I think it was a non-contact injury on his throwing hand or something along those lines. So being able to prepare for something completely new in the style offense that they're running now with him being sidelined, they're literally going to run smash mouth football, and it's literally us versus them. It's in the trenches. They're going to put us in a phone booth, and we're going to see it's going to be a slugfest. We're going to see who comes out on top. And that's what us coaches have been saying this, and they're going to put us in a phone booth. That's what we're going to say. And, who's the bigger man and who's going to fight harder. And that's what it's going to come down to Friday night. But like I said, they have some quality athletes, some really good athletes. It's just going to be our guys just have to play and participate and, out execute them and out execute ourselves.
And I know you wouldn't want to have it any other way, being a former offensive and defensive lineman for the Redskins. Winning up front is crucial in any and every game.
Oh, absolutely. In the trenches, that's any and every game, like you said. And that's the most fun. That's where I see joy. That's where you can have all your skilled players. You can have your flashy quarterback and your flashy offense, but nothing gets the juices flowing like just smash mouth football, hand in the dirt, 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
And Coach, we talked about the Zeps needing a win to get to week 11. You're there week 11, not looking ahead or anything, but we know this win right here can only increase your rankings. And how big would it be to win and secure a home game week 11?
Oh, that's very big. There's nothing like the home playoff game atmosphere. But with a win this week, that puts us in the top 4. So we more than likely get 2 first round home games or two home games. And that's what you got to love, that to be able to play at home 2 weeks in a row on the biggest picture in Ohio football, which is the postseason, which is the playoffs. That's something big. That's a huge accomplishment. And, that's massive. So, we know that this is essentially make or break for our 2 home games. And like I said, we're treating this as week 1 of playoffs. And, that's just how it has to be as far as execution was.
And Coach, how big as far as motivation, going into the playoffs will be, how many teams is in your region will have played a tougher schedule than you have? That's got to be something to help you going in as far as confidence wise.
Oh, for sure. We wanted to have our athletes battle tested and ready. And that's why we kind of scheduled the way we did. And, regardless of how the last 3 weeks went, from now until, our final game, whenever that may be, whether it's in Tom Benson Stadium or whatever, that we know that these last 3 games are going to be crucial to our success in the future and the down the road.
And Train, as a coach, sometimes getting ready for tournaments, it's not bad to have a loss here or there, because then when it comes the next day of practice, you kind of have the kids' full attention, and they get locked in and focused even more.
Oh, he had my attention when he said Tom Benson Stadium. I love it how that's the goal, man. You playing for a state championship. You very rarely, especially in our area, have an opportunity like that, and to have goals like that. I mean, that's the ultimate goal for any high school, whether it's football, cross country, volleyball, soccer, whatever sport, basketball, baseball. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And man, I tell you what, it would be awesome if one of our local schools had an opportunity to play up there. And I know since they fixed the turf and got field turf there by the Football Hall of Fame, it's looking real nice. And it'd be nice to sit and watch one of our local teams play. And that'd definitely be sweet.
Oh no, absolutely. That was kind of our whole manifestation. It dates all the way back to last February when we started the strength program. I'd start every lift with, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And all the guys would answer state title game. And then I would just simply follow it up by then act like it, lift like it, rep like it, whatever it may be. So this has been a manifestation for a long, long time. In our region, I would say it's between us and River, who would have the strongest strength of schedule, just because we're in the same conference in the MOVL. But I think with the couple out of conference games that we've played, they're really tough opponents, and we just gotta keep moving forward. And like I said, Tom Benson Stadium is where we want to be the first week of December.
And Coach, we want to wish you the best of luck Friday night and week 11 and on. And we want to thank you for, taking some time out of your busy week. I know gets pretty hectic on the Noble County Super Bowl week. And Friday night will be a lot of fun there at the fairgrounds. And as we head out, I want to ask you the last question. It's the same one I asked Coach Lowry, but for you, if the Caldwell Redskins do these three things well Friday night, they're going to come out with the victory.
Offensively, we need to be able to throw the football and run the football. Obviously, that's cliche to say, but I'm saying do it well. If we execute the run game and execute our passing attack with our all-state quarterback, that's going to be fun offensively. Defensively, I just need 11 hats to the football. See ball, get ball. Those cats flying around. I just need dudes to make plays. And the old adage is, or not old adage, but with the new hype of Deion Sanders, he's got leaders and dogs. He doesn't have captains. I said, I need 11 dogs when we play defense. I need 11 dogs. And, the third thing, just everybody, all the guys playing for one another. That's the whole part of a rivalry. Once you sit down and really think about it, these guys will remember this for 40, 50 years. So remember playing for one another. So, like I said, offensively, defensively, and then playing for one another. Those are our three things that we need to have happen for us to win.
All right. Well, Coach, it's been truly an honor having you on our pregame show this week. And it was great talking to you.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Good luck to the Redskins Friday night. So that's been Coach Rucker here on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show. And we're going to take our final timeout and wrap things up here after this timeout.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend, we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend, we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
And once again, we want to thank you for joining us on the 740 Sports.
All sports, all the time.
Yes, and what a fun night it has been talking Meadowbrook, Cambridge, and Buckeye Trail football as usual, but also adding a little Noble County flair in it as well as Shenandoah travels to the fairgrounds to take on Caldwell, Noble County Super Bowl. And we want to thank Coach Lowry and Coach Rucker for joining us tonight and train as we head out. Let's talk Shenandoah and Caldwell. You'll be able to not only, of course, listen to that game on the radio, but if you cannot get there, you can live stream it on your radioplace.com, as well as Meadowbrook will travel to West Muskingum to take on the Tornadoes. That game will also be live streamed on your radioplace.com. And Cambridge will close out their season at St. Clairsville against the powerhouse Red Devils. That game also live streamed on your radioplace.com. So you can stay home out of the rain or go out, and especially the Caldwell Shenandoah game, enjoy the great atmosphere that's going to be. And Buckeye Trail will travel to Newcomerstown. Playoff implications, big time on the line there between the Trojans and the Warriors. And we want to wish all our local teams the best of luck. And we want to, as always, thank Park Circle Cafe for sponsoring our show once again, and for Sean Williams, the icon, producing the broadcast tonight, and my partner in crime, the voice of high school football, D-Train. I'm merely Tom Strasser, and on behalf of the entire 740 Sports family, we want to wish you a great weekend and a safe weekend, and we look forward to seeing you on the field this Friday night.
Do you stay classy, Guernsey County?
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.